Ndipo is my name, from CSBAG.
Good morning. My name is Lydia Kopsinge from the National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda, Ndipo.
Good morning. I'm Frederick Okwe from Perth.
Good morning. I'm Tony Nsema from Youth for Tax Justice.
I greet you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Natamba Edward, and I work with Southwestern Institute for Policy and Advocacy based in Ntungamo District.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mima Rebecca, and I'm with Perth.
Good morning. I'm Nawasa Pamela, Digital Media.
Good morning, Akamumpa Comfort, Digital Media.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kaitesi Michelle, Digital Media.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chokshara Rachel, Digital Media.
Good morning, I'm Kogabe Fiona, Digital Media.
Good morning. My name is Felix. I'm from CSBAG, Digital Team.
Good morning. Mwevembez, Digital Team.
Good morning. My name is Drake Nyamugaba from AMCF Radio.
Good morning. Akachukunda Joan is my name. Women and Girl Child Development Association, WEGSIDA.
Good morning. My name is Francis Xavier Ocheng, Dan Church Aid.
Good morning. My name is Rosette Kahiga from SIGA.
Morning. My name is Briscoe Akansemira from Let Us Serve Uganda Development Initiative.
Good morning. Kenneth Atim, Ministry of Local Government.
Good morning. Hilda Tomohe, Uganda Debt Network.
Good morning. Jordana Wamboga from Uganda Community-Based Association for Women and Children's Welfare.
Good morning. Harrison Asaba from Bulisa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Samuel Akena from Padendio Forum.
Good morning. Dennis Olak from Link Education Uganda.
Good morning. I'm Sadat Zaga Ziwa from Ngabo Youth Friendly Services Center.
Good morning, friends. I'm Ryan.
Good morning, Jeff Wadula, my name's CSBAG stroke FIMOC.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lianga Thomas Brolin, Yadnid.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Viola Naeware. I work with the Hunger Project Uganda.
Good morning, Isaac Tenywa from Baba TV.
Good morning, my name is Adams Mayambala from CTV.
Good morning, Rita Ainembabazi from Sanyo FM.
Good morning once again. I'm Christopher Tumwine, Participatory Budget Club Kamocha.
Good morning. My name is Kajumba Alan, PBC Kamocha.
Good morning. My name is Philip Alhika from CSBAG based in Chegegwa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Omar Deogracias, CSBAG based in Alabdong District.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Mukasangu Bweje. I am a Senior Research Fellow with the Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment.
Good morning once again. I'm Juko Joseph Magezi Salongo, PBC Kampala Central Division.
Good morning. My name is Rana Nahabwe from Smart 24 TV.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Annette Namazita Male, CSBAG.
Good morning, everyone. Tumkwase Adrian is my name, CSBAG, based in Isinjiro district.
Good morning, Junior Nwandinda, FSME.
Good morning, Tessa Hamza, Smart Youth Network Initiative.
Yes, good morning, everyone. This is Roland Musasizi from Uganda Women's Network.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Charlie Gonzalez from Ministry of Finance.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Barbara Kulo from CSBAG.
Good morning, everyone. I'm by the names of Awaja Aaron from CSBAG, based in Yumbe.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rita Kampi from the Forum for Women in Democracy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. So we can move along with our program. But before we start, before I introduce Sir Julius Mukunda, our host, or one of our hosts from Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, I want to, I see the average age in this room is probably around 30. So there was a time in this country when budget reading was more exciting than we know now. In those days, the Minister of Finance would read the budget and he would say, from this time, from midnight to night, the price of fuel is going to be this. The price of bread is going to be this. The price of milk is going to be such and the other. As you obviously know and you've noticed, it's no longer the same. Hence, the need for dialogues like these today to bring it down to the people. I'm going to call Executive Director of CSBAG, Julius Mukunda, to come and give us his... Yes, he reminds me, some of us are not very inclined in that direction, but he reminds me that we should start with a word of prayer to set us off on our journey this morning. And maybe what we'll do, he'll do the welcome remarks. I was going to say you're going to do it yourself. But maybe I should ask the lady, Agnes to help us, give us a word of prayer to set us off on our morning journey. I think you need to come.
Dear God, I take this opportunity with humility to say a prayer of thanksgiving for today's gathering. So, people of God, let us humble ourselves for the word of prayer. Loving God, Father, I thank you so much for the gift of a new day that none of us in this room has ever seen before. We thank you for the gathering of men and women in this place for a calling and an appointment you knew. We thank you that we are going to sit in a meeting on earth to deliberate on how best your people can live a life with dignity. We thank you for the efforts and everybody that have rendered the brains, the money, the energy, such that we gather here to discuss about things that matter for humanity in this country. We don't take pride for anything, for you have called us for a purpose. We remember those that are less privileged and are deprived. And we also remember those that are living in plenty. And we invite you to remind both that we deserve to all live a life with dignity. We know we shall be served to eat and drink. We invite you to sanctify the drinks and the food. In remembrance of those that went hungry yesterday, but also today, they have no hope of eating. So let us eat in honor And let us ensure that no food goes to waste in those that are not going to have that meal. So bless every mouth that will open to speak in this place, and bless every feet that will step into this room for the ideas that are going to be shared to shape decisions that will let everybody live a life with dignity. In your name and honor, Lord, I have prayed with thanksgiving. Amen.
Thank you very much, Agnes Kisembo, for those words of prayer. So with that, on that note, I call to give his welcome remarks the Executive Director of CSBAG, Julius Mukunda.
Good morning, everyone. First of all is to thank you all for coming for our post-budget dialogue. And again, really, all protocol observed, really. CSBAG dialogue is really for ordinary people. My sister was telling me, you even have clubs in Kamocha now. You have people from Sinjiro and from Bulisa. Yes, that's what CSBAG is meant for. A platform where ordinary citizens debate, interrogate, and participate in the budget process. We are here mainly for three major reasons. One is to further increase budget awareness among the citizens. You know, when the minister reads the budget speech, we want to ensure that it just doesn't stop there, but rather we continue to ensure that citizens are aware of what is contained in the budget. And we are really happy and proud about that, because the level of engagement about the budget process is extraordinary these days. The second point is we want also to share the gains and pains in the upcoming budget. And I think that's very important, because there are gains we have made, because all the advocacy work we have been on, there are gains we have made, and we want to share them. But also there are losses we have realized, because as we take 2 steps ahead, there is another step, we take other steps back. That we keep on encouraging government that please, these are serious issues that must be addressed in this country. And that's why this platform is there. Lastly is, we need to prepare ourselves to benefit from the budget opportunities that are coming. Because in most cases, the budget is read, the minister finishes, all of us go home. And only those who have read and heard correctly are able to benefit, to go and prepare themselves, because the budget is not going to be delivered in your bedroom. You must get out there to see what is there. And that's why we encourage each and every Ugandan that when the parish development model is coming, please go and prepare yourselves. That money, if you are not prepared, I can assure you, there are people who have already prepared themselves and they are not even supposed to be part of that gain. So if we sleep, there are people who are already prepared to take it, and yet that money is meant for us. So this forum today is specifically for that purpose, preparing also ourselves to see what is in the budget that you can benefit from. The 5 trillion money that is going to the districts, how are we prepared to benefit from it? The water points, the electricity, the health centers, how are we prepared to benefit from that? You will hear of a Myoga, you will hear of a small scale and medium enterprise fund, you will hear of microfinance sector funding, all those billions. How are we prepared as citizens to benefit from those opportunities that the budget is bringing to ourselves? So that's why we are here today, to further ensure that these opportunities don't pass us. We are cognizant that the financial 2022-2023 comes at a time when the economy is recovering from the COVID pandemic and raising commodity prices. This post-budget dialogue therefore provides us an opportunity to deliberate on how the financial 2022-2023 budget will boost our economy to grow through private sector development and gender responsive public service delivery. As CSOs, we commend the government for the key interventions in the 2022-2023 budget, which will aid the speedy recovery of the economy and improve livelihoods. Among other things is we are happy that there has been no introduction of new taxes. For us, this is very, very important. Why? Because we believe that as we are recovering, adding more taxes on us will definitely give us more trouble and more head. It will slow the recovery process. Halting payments of value added for suppliers to government until they are paid. Just imagine, you have supplied government, it has not paid you, but again, URA is on your case. Please pay my VAT. So you go and borrow money from the bank, you pay URA, government has not paid you for the last 5 years, and the bank comes and and closes you. So for me, really, is for our private sector, it's a very big relief that they can only pay when the government has paid them. Because the 4 trillion that is stuck in domestic areas, if government was to release it, it would definitely boost the economy. Progressive and proper tax proposals, especially the proposal to limit rental tax to only those earning 2.8 million shillings annually, is much welcome. Remember the rental tax, but now government has realized that that if you are really in a low-paying category, there are so many pressures on you than the person has already gone in a higher pay category. And as such, it is very, very prudent, and we will come with the idea that there is going to be a zero rental income tax rate for individuals that earn an annual income not exceeding 2.8 million Ghana shillings, and a rate of 12% of rental income, those exceeding above. An indication that low-income earners have got a shield from this taxation burden. This is very important because at least it will allow you to get some surplus money on you, and you can be able to do other things. We are so happy that there is a full implementation of the parish development model, which will help to transform the economy through targeting the 39% households still in subsistence economy. The parish model is currently the buzzword, as you are aware, and that's why I'm saying, please, from today, when you go back, prepare yourselves. Let's get the guidelines, let's see what the guys say, form those circles, wait for that money. Otherwise, the Kampala-based people are going to register in Koboko, in Chisoro, and wait for that money to come, and they will take it and bring it back to Kampala. We fought so hard to have these monies go down at the parish level. Let me give you a scenario. If you have the youth livelihood program based in Kampala, that one is pocket change for the ministry where it is. If the minister is going to travel abroad, that money might come from there. If a minister gets a shortfall, which usually happens there, it will start from that money. But it is going to be very difficult to look for that money when it is in Koboko, when it has already left. It is going to be very difficult to track that money and bring it back to Kampala when it has reached Ntungam, for example. Because it's now scattered everywhere in every village. And as such, the Kampala-based people will find it extremely difficult to get this money unless they prepare themselves into small groups and start registering across the country. It is my humble request that as citizens, we prepare ourselves, form those circles, have the right enterprises, ensuring that we benefit from these resources. It doesn't go to waste. But more importantly, we know that the parish model will serve 2 purposes. Number one, For the first time in Uganda, and I say it, for the first time, an ordinary person in this country is benefiting directly from the national resource. From the national cake, there is a portion that is being cut for you. That this 45 trillion Ugandan shillings, there is a portion for you to take home. It had never happened, and it has happened. But secondly is, 100 million in a parish, I can tell you, that is the one way of direct local economic development. Just imagine how many kilograms of meat are going to be eaten when that money arrives. I don't want to mention the other hard stuff. But it's about production. It's about production, and it is through production that we get taxes. How many beers are going to be drunk? Because the more beers you drink, then the more taxes our friend URA is going to correct. And then more money comes to the parish development model. But we know what it means when there is SPA at the local level in terms of development. So that's why we insist on that. The only challenge, definitely, of course, with the parish model is it is almost taking another path, and we need to fight that to ensure that it is not taken. 5 is enhancing the pay for our garrant soldiers, security personnel, scientists, medical workers, and science teachers, which we hope will motivate the above cadres to improve service delivery, but also availing the $217 million grant from the World Bank to support women entrepreneurs. How I wish this money was also sent to the parish development model. And they say there is a grant for women at a parish level. So that we remove it from Kampala based. I told you the problems are in Kampala. When there is budget cut at the ministry, I can tell you that's where the eye will start. When there is a problem in the ministry, that's where it's going to start from. So it's quite very important that we decentralize all these monies to the villages. And this will also give our MPs more work to do. When they go there, at least they can monitor these resources. But we're also happy that there is a 628 billion to climate change adaptation and reduce the risks of agricultural production and food security. Climate change is here with us. We can't run away from it, however much we try to ensure that we run away and pretend it is not happening, that we are in a country, we have 2 seasons, and things are catching up with us. Because the rains are no longer predictable, the hot weather is more hotter than it used to be. When it rains, it brings floods. Instead of giving us the blessings, it brings disasters. So if we don't put much effort and investment in climate change financing, it becomes very important. So we are very happy that a number of things really have been had, and these are our gains. And I think we should clap for government that finally they have listened to us. It's quite very important. Despite that, when we look ahead, we see a number of challenges that should immediately be addressed if these gains are to be materialized. Among them is our public debt, which is now a ticking time bomb. Ladies and gentlemen, as of December 2021, Uganda's public debt stock stood at 73.5 trillion Ugandan shillings, representing a nominal debt to GDP ratio of 49.7%. This, if not addressed, will derail our development agenda. We welcome Mr. Shaba Huntington from Ministry of Finance. Shaba, you are most welcome. You came when I had finished praising you, and now I am on warning you, so please be informed that I first did all the praises, but we are now on what we need to really address to ensure that things happen. So really our public debt, and our position is like this, that borrowing is not bad, ladies and gentlemen, that borrowing is not bad. It's even at the household level, borrow and start that important enterprises. You will get returns. But borrow to do a wedding, you will even hate why you married. And this is also on us as on government, that first we need to have smart loans that take long, loans that are of low interest rates, grace period is 10 years, than running to Stanbic Bank and Standard Chartered Bank. And I can assure you there is no free lunch. At the end of the day, you have to pay back. That's two is, let us borrow for things we are ready to do. Not to borrow and then we are stuck with money, that we don't know how to use the money. Our absorption becomes low. So for me, really, that is very key and very important about our debt management. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we are in trouble. We are seeing a lot of increasing consumptive nature of our budget. Delivering services to citizens requires that the government cuts on consumptive expenditures in the budget and prioritize allocation towards the development budget. For example, only 14.5 trillion, that is 30% of the coming financial year budget, will go towards development expenditure. And 20.6 trillion will go towards recurrent expenditure, of which 14 will be non-wage and 6 trillion will be wage. So again, and you can see the clamoring now. We started with the teachers, they came with the lecturers, they came with the medical workers. Now we have local governments, we have arts teachers. A friend last night was saying, when are the students coming up? So for me, it is something that we need to look out for. Lack of readiness to deliver on public projects, ladies and gentlemen. We have a country, we are still performing poorly in terms of our public investment management. According to National Planning Authority, 69 core projects, only 34 are under implementation, with only 1% on schedule and 17% still on project ideas without any preparatory undertaken. And again, that tells us on how we need to get better in terms of doing work. Inadequate coordination among MDAs, duplication and lack of coordination continues to be a big challenge in the government. And I usually pose a question, why would one ministry sue another? Or one agency of government sue another? They all belong to the same government, they are going to hire the same, they are going to sue the attorney and maybe get private lawyers, but all these guys, whether they lose or win, it is me losing because they will still come to the consulted fund and pick money to pay the lawyers. So we want that coordination strengthened, especially at the Prime Minister's office. Addressing salary disparities among civil servants. I mean, however much we continue to pretend, it's not that people are being paid poorly, by the way, no. It's because there are disparities, and we need to address that. A driver in one agency can't be paid more than a director in a ministry. It is sad. You can't do that. And that's why people with leverage now tend to hold the government hostage. I am a teacher, I wait when the kids are going back to school. That's when I organize my strike. So when will the drivers strike, for example? Or when will the commissioners of government and directors strike? Do they have that opportunity to hold the government down? No. So unless we have a salary review commission put in place and hold new administration and speed up rationalization, this issue of everybody demanding for increment is going to come up again and again, and you can see that our consumption expenditure is also increasing. Ladies and gentlemen, I think for me the other important element is about the development of a national list, a national price list. And I've said time and again that we are losing money in procurement simply because money is of late is that a pen or water, the same item is delivered to government departments at different prices. And as long as we don't have a national price list and have standards for government, we will continue losing money from that perspective. I would like to thank all the National Budget Month partners, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the Bank of Uganda, Uganda Revenue Authority, Advocacy Coalition for Development and Environment, Southern and Eastern African Trade and Information and Negotiation Institute, Private Sector Foundation Uganda, Overseas Development Institute, for working with us to increase citizen participation in the budget process. In a special way, I also like to thank USAID, Civil Society Strengthening Activity, UN Women Uganda, Oxfam Uganda, Forum for Women Democracy, PATH Uganda, Plan International Uganda, Youth Advocacy and Development Network Africa, who have contributed to the success of this dialogue. Please join to, if you could give them a clap, it will definitely go a long way in encouraging others that joint efforts are better than going alone. In conclusion, I would like to wish you all good deliberations as we discuss how best we can contribute towards the economic recovery of our country amidst the current global economic shocks. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Julius, for that. It sets the stage very well for our upcoming discussion. But before I go ahead, a few administrative issues. We have 2 cameras in the house, right there, and those cameras are delivering a live feed to NTV. We request that you don't cross in front of them. You're disrupting transmission or the quality of our program. As I said, Julius set a very good stage for our thing. The Minister of Finance missed it, but he was very happy that no new taxes have been levied or created. He was very grateful. He almost danced here when he said that VAT on supplies to government will only be due when government actually pays the money. He noted that some companies are really gone under because of waiting for government's payment. You know, they say government works like God in mysterious ways. You know, like things happen and you don't know. But anyway, we have the Minister of Finance here who might clarify on that. He also pointed out the issue of rentals, that you've put a threshold below which, 2.8 million, below which rental taxes will not be levied. We've talked with him a lot about this. He was ecstatic about the parish development model, and he called on all of us. Oh no, but all of you are from Kampala, so please stay here. Don't rush back to Koboko to take advantage. But he's telling the general public in Koboko and everywhere, please, you know, take advantage of this. He says 100 million shillings to every parish. Maybe his choice of what is going to happen with meat from the reflection on what Julius sees. And several other things. He mentioned, of course, climate change is critical to our times. You came in when he was talking about the challenges, so you didn't miss that part. But without much further ado, moving ahead with the budget, I just wanted to also mention earlier to the Minister of Finance, earlier in the program, I noted that the average age in this room is about 30. Although your presence, Mr. Hannington, might have increased it a bit more, you know. Me and you, we are raising this thing. And they missed the days of the budget speech where the minister says from midnight to night, milk is going up, da, 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 da. So it was an easy budget those days to understand. Once the minister stopped raising prices or lowering prices, people switched off their radios and went on with their business. These days, people have a bit of a problem. So the purpose for this, also as Julius said, is to bring it down to the people, show them how it affects them in their day-to-day lives. But without much further ado, I would like to call the Commissioner, Project Analysis and Public Investment and of the Public Investment Department, the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Hannington Ashawa, to come and deliver his remarks on behalf of the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ashawa.
Yes, thank you, Paul and Julius and the rest of the organizers of the dialogue. So all protocol observed. But first of all, allow me to register the apologies of the Minister of Finance, who is out of station, attending to equally important activities in regard to popularizing the PDM, as you all know, but also the PSST in the same vein is away. So they have delegated me today to highlight some of the key budget allocations and policy proposals, which I think will trigger some post-budget discussion here to ensure that our budget, at least during execution and moving forward, addresses the concerns of the citizens. So all invited guests, I beg your pardon, the Executive Director, CSBAG, whom I had recognized, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my pleasure to join you here this morning to digest the opportunities in the budget for financial year 2022-23. I think where I distanced I can remove, for transforming the private sector and the general livelihood of the citizens. I wish to begin by commending the National Budget Month partners in general for the support towards the popularization of the budget for the financial year 22-23, and of course our partners, CSBAG. They have been at it for some time, and as finance, I think we leverage on their platforms for this kind of engagement, which we wouldn't have done from the point of view of government. We sincerely thank you, and we appreciate the role you do in popularizing, sensitizing the masses, and the general value that you add in the budget process. I also wish to extend my appreciations to all of you who have spared time to come and participate in this dialogue. I can see people from all diverse sections of society and institutions, and as finance, we don't take this for granted. Now, effective engagement of stakeholders to appreciate the budget is very, very paramount, as you all know. One, it promotes ownership and responsiveness of the budget, citizen needs, participation in implementation, which is the clincher, and I think I found Julius talking about execution, especially of public investments. You can, and the sluggishness therein, but also it promotes demand for accountability and hence improved service delivery and impact on the welfare of society. The goal of government, of course, is to achieve socio-economic transformation for the benefit of all Ugandans, as you all know, so that we can improve their lives. So, cognizant of the economic shocks occasioned by COVID-19, and I think all of us were affected, we know, in one way or another, from all perspectives, whether health, economic, social, or otherwise. Government got committed to quickly accelerate the economic recovery, at least to pre-pandemic levels, by integrating more Ugandans into the money economy and the speed and speed up growth in the country's productive sectors. Government further recognizes, even with that incentive of economic recovery, further recognizes the big role the private sector plays in poverty eradication and economic growth. Firstly, as you all know, the private sector enhances competitiveness, which results into growth, jobs, and wealth creation, but also it opens fiscal space, which allows government to focus on ensuring macroeconomic stability, investing in social services, and infrastructure. So, moving forward, although government is shoring up most of her allocations towards service delivery, this will not be to crowd out the private sector, but rather to complement, because its cardinal role in those aspects, and in any case, because also we face a huge budget constraint. As a country, as you know, we remain very key. However, for the private sector to effectively play its role, as you all know, government must create a conducive regulatory business environment and investment climate, which entails the following: ensuring security, law and order, building a robust financial system, improving supply and quality of human resources and infrastructure, and provision of conducive labor policies, among others. So, what are the opportunities in this coming budget in view of those fundamentals I've highlighted? Let me start with what we provided under security, law and order. And as you all know, this is a key fundamental to private sector growth and development, because insecurity discourages investment, reduces productivity and aggregate demand. So government has endeavored to ensure that security, law and order is prioritized within the budget. Because as a result of the prevailing peace, for example, for some time, you are all aware, the private sector is now able to operate 24 hours a day following the full reopening of the economy. So to ensure sustainability, security is second human capital development in the budget for the coming fiscal year, with a share of about 22% of the national budget. Now, 22% of the national budget is really high. Maybe we can have a discussion on some of the cost drivers of this. In this regard, we hope that security will be guaranteed to the private sector thrive, but also for the citizens to improve their lives. Some of the key dividends have already been registered, as you know. For example, the tensions between Rwanda and Uganda have been significantly addressed, and now we are focusing on Congo and Karamoja region, and we hope this will create a wider market share beyond Ugandan borders. That was security, law and order. Now, and I will summarize them because I think the details will come later in the discussions. We decided to prioritize allocations under what I will bundle as economic/business recovery funds. Government has put in place a conducive macroeconomic policy framework. Paul has written extensively around that, so I will not go into the fundamentals around macroeconomic framework of low inflation, stable exchange rate and the rest, flexible exchange rate and the rest. But the impact of COVID-19 destabilized most of these fundamentals, as you all know. And for example, in the financial sector, this exacerbated the default rates, And government had to come in order to ensure that institutions are allowed at least to restructure their debt. It could have been worse if government had not intervened. So we have continued to provide for business recovery funds in the budget for the coming financial year to cater for all categories of the private sector moving forward. And these are just some of the funds we prioritize. For example, Myoga, again, we put in around 85 billion to cater for entrepreneurs already in the money market, but who lack capital to meet market needs, or who can't afford the capital at higher interest rates. It targets around 18 enterprises, including carpenters, tax operators, welders, market vendors, salon operators, among others. 2, the government stimulus package, the post-COVID-19 resilience and recovery funds. We have put in an amount equivalent to around 50 billion, especially under the Microfinance Support Center, support small and medium enterprises under UDC. We have around 100 billion. Capitalization of UDB has an equal amount, around 100 billion. And of course, the agricultural credit facility, which received an extra 50 billion under that arrangement. 3, now the famous, or the new kid on the block, the parish development model, with around over 1 trillion, where we hope that each parish will receive 100 million support production of 14 key commodities with high impact on transforming the 39% of households in subsistence agriculture into the money economy. All these allocations and policy measures are aimed at accelerating economic recovery and transforming the 39% of the households from subsistence to the money economy. As private sector, the key question we need to ponder on is, are we prepared to seize the opportunity as a result of the projected increase in the aggregate demand for goods and services arising out of some of these government budget proposals? This is something, again, we can discuss as a post-budget take-home. The other area, broad area, government has prioritized in the budget is improving the quality of life of Ugandans, because quality of life, including improving the health and infrastructure, power, ICT, provision of safe water, resources, and of course construction of roads remains key. So money has been prioritized for human capital and productive infrastructure, which is, I think, the third program that has significantly gotten a large share of around 7 trillion, which has been allocated for health, water, education, and the road infrastructure. The fourth is commercialization of oil. And you all know this is high on the radar or agenda of government. And following the announcement of the FID is the final investment decision, the construction of the East African crude oil pipeline is expected to commence in this coming financial year. There will be opportunities in the service sector, such as tourism, hotel, transport, mentioned but a few, and shillings close to 1 trillion, around 900 and something billion, has been allocated towards the development and commercialization of this important sector as well, which I think we need to take note. The fifth is promotion of agro-industrialization and market access. The next financial year, the following interventions will be prioritized, among others. Expanding the storage and processing capacity for agricultural commodities within the 18 zones of the country, enhancing the use of the warehouse receipt system to improve commodity storage, reducing post-harvest losses, working on the value chain management, among others. And we've put in some money, around 1.5 trillion, especially in aspects to do with standardization and addressing market entry barriers. Now, I found Julius Nkunda, my friend, talking about tax framework. I would not also have left without touching that after addressing the expenditure side of the budget. Tax framework. To ensure economic full recovery of the economy, government has not introduced any new tax measures for financial year 22-23. And this is primarily to provide stability in the welfare, and we believe this will entice private sector investment. Now, finally, as I conclude, let me try to give some areas to demonstrate that this budget is promoting inclusive growth and pro-people. The interventions and policy measures that make the budget for financial year 22-23 a bit unique include, among others, one, implementation of the PDM, which you all know, and which I think we shall discuss further. Investment in human capital development, especially in health, education infrastructure. We have challenges. I found Julius discussing a number of them. We've done some bit, especially on enhancement, but addressing those disparities. Expanding coverage of water for production and consumption. 3, maintaining the tax rates and reviewing the existing rates to eliminate ambiguities. 4, desisting from implementing policies whose benefits do not trickle to the poor. This might be controversial, but I think as finance or treasury, we have ensured that government desists from provision of subsidies and also does not reduce taxes. There are many schools of thought because of their intended moral hazards. Because some of these channel resources to the rich segments of the society and do not address the target intentions. So government will instead implement policies aimed at building resilience of Uganda's economy against the prevailing high commodity prices. 5, maintaining the debt levels within the limits spelled out, especially in our Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, not exceeding 53.1% of GDP in the financial year 22-23. So, and we think even this will be lower because the GDP has gone up, as you could have heard. Provided resources for enhancement of salaries for health workers and science teachers with all those challenges, which I found you discussing. And then lastly, prioritizing commercialization of agriculture and industrialization to increase productivity, produce more, which will eventually, in the medium to long run, naturally smoothen prices. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, the budget for financial year 22-23 presents enormous opportunities for the citizens, but also for the private sector. And one challenge we are encountering now is the low capacity of some farms, which compromises quality, especially in the supply of the of the requisite inputs for production. I therefore appeal to you adequately prepare ourselves, seize them, and take the opportunities. And I now take the honor to declare this meeting open, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. So, I hope I've sounded like Honorable Matia Kasaija in a way, without... So I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Hannington Ashaba, for those remarks made on behalf of the Minister of Finance. Moving along, we were supposed to have a panel of people to respond to that. We have, however, one of those people who is going to respond to that. But just one remark about his remarks. As I said, the average age in this room is 30 years old or thereabouts. The interesting thing when you mention security as top of the list, people who are younger say, well, security, what's the problem? You know, it's an interesting thing. When you take something for granted, it means it's been done well. When it's not done well is when we have a problem. So security seems to have been done well enough that we think, security is okay, we are okay, and therefore you don't need to spend. But that's an interesting thing. The same with macroeconomic stability. The other day in the newsroom, I work for the New Vision. Somebody came to my desk and asked me, so I want to write an article which says that the price increases that are happening now are approaching the situation in the 1980s. I looked at the person and I said, my friend, you have no clue. And my basic explanation was this. The ministry maybe will set me right if I got it wrong. There's a time in this country when they used to, first of all, count inflation by the month. It was so high that you didn't want to say 6% annual inflation. So you'd say 20% monthly inflation. So at some point it was 250%. What does 250% inflation mean? And I was trying to explain to this person. The ministry can correct me if I misrepresented the facts. 250% means that prices are doubling every 3 months. So for you who might be mathematically challenged, let me even simplify it further. If you have a child and you take it to school in term 1, and you paid 1 million shillings, let's just say 1 million shillings in school fees, 1 million shillings in term 1. When you went to term 2, you paid 2 million shillings because the price had doubled in 3 months. When you went to term 3, you paid 4 million shillings. And then when they came for Christmas, when you're waiting for next time, you have to start saving 8 million shillings. That is what 250% inflation means. So judge whether we are at that point yet. But let me not take too much time. We have the Executive Director of the Uganda National NGO Forum, Mr. Moses Isoba, to respond directly to Mr. Hannington's remarks which were made on behalf of the Finance Minister, Matia Kasaija. The floor is yours, Moses.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the very elaborate keynote address that you delivered on behalf of the Minister, and also to the rest of the participants in your respective capacities. I thank you for making the time for this dialogue. My name is Moses Isoba, and I'm the Executive Director at the Uganda National NGO Forum. I thank the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group for giving me the honor to make a reaction to this keynote address. And my reaction is premised or primed on the fact that as Uganda National NGO Forum, we work with the grassroots people, we work with the citizens. Our work, our gaze is to the citizens. And therefore, the route I take in terms of making response here is wearing the lens of the wananchi, the omuntu wa wansi. how this budget translates to the person at the grassroots. And let me start by saying that this is a budget that is read at a time when we are faced with the three crises at hand. The executive director of CSBAG did mention of the climate chaos, and that continues to date. We are also having a budget read at the time when all the eyes are at the Russia and Ukraine war, and that definitely has an impact, not only for the people in Kampala, but even us in the countryside. And also we're having a budget that is being read at the time when we're recovering from the effects of the pandemic. And we have economies, not only for Uganda, but across the region, that economies are contracted or are contracting and are in the process of recovery. And therefore, we'll be looking at a budget that directly helps to address the issues that directly affect the wananchi, that would help to improve the social indicators. But then a couple of things that I would like to respond to. Let me start, of course, with the new kid on the block. Since we entered into this room in the morning, even Commissioner, when you're not around, I perhaps would have to count both with all my fingers, my toes, the number of times parish development model has been mentioned. And now it's a household name. No conversation gets completed without mentioning the household level. I think it is one of those seminal programs of government that is actually putting funds directly into the hands or the pockets of the people. But I must put a caution here. One, all the pillars of the parish development model are very important. But I like to address ourselves to pillar number 5 on community mobilization and mindset change. I think it would have been very prudent, and I think it is prudent if the train has not left the station, that this is a pillar that needs to be addressed now, perhaps even before the cash transfers are done. There needs to be a mindset change. A number of people that we talk to in the countryside are eagerly waiting for this money. And sometimes they would think that this is a money that would be a thank you for having voted appropriately. And rather than putting this money into production. And so while all the pillars are important, rising from agro-industrialization to all the other pillars, but it's very important that we definitely, if we're not going to let waste the over 1 trillion Uganda shillings that has been put into this parish development model, that's important that we address ourselves the mindset change. Now, the other thing that's quite also intriguing is that we're talking that we are going to be, government plans to dispense 100 million to all the parishes. I think if we are to borrow a lesson from decentralization, there was what we called equalization grants. I think it is very defeating, and this might be the Achilles heel for the parish development model, where the government is making uniform transfers to the parishes. Because I think a parish in my home district of Iganga is not the same parish that comprises Naguru and Kololo. I mean, they are all parishes, but a parish in Kampala is vastly different from a parish in other districts. And therefore, when you do make a uniform transfer of 100 million to the parish, that presupposes that these parishes are equal in terms of poverty levels, also in the number of households, and yet it's actually possible to find one parish with 200 households, another parish perhaps might only have 100 households, and even when you go look at the households, it's possible that there are poverty differentials, income differentials, from one household to another. And therefore, it would be very important that we are able to understand the statistics in each of the parishes so that we are not, just transferring 100 million to a parish in Bushenyi and the same 100 million to a parish in Kanungu or a parish in Moroto, where the social indicators are completely different. And so it's very important that for this, as I said, we need to do the mindset change. We need to make sure that, before the transfers are done, that we are guided by data from UBOS. What is UBOS saying in that parish in Kabale, in that parish in Zombwe, or in Kanungu, in terms of just knowing the level of poverty, and then be able to make these transfers. So the transfers need to be based on UBOS data, and my prayer is that the Minister of Finance is working very closely and not making any transfers, because it would be a colossal mistake to make these transfers before this data is out, just to be able to know the number of households. So that's on the parish development model. As I said, it's a good initiative that we all are proud government for it, but definitely for it to be successful, we need to exercise abundance of caution. The other point that I would like to make my comment on is the transfers through Emyoga, through UDB, through the microfinance center. When the commissioner was making his remarks, this is in the excess of 200 billion. 85 billion cut out for Emyoga, 50 billion cut out to capitalizing the UDB, and 50 billion cut for the microfinance support center. The greatest challenge that we do have, that either there is duplication here or the funds are not adequately reaching the target people. Now, one would have thought that if we're having the Emyoga, we're having the micro support, finance support center, that needs to be aligned to the transfers, through the parish development model. Now, these are running as parallel streams. And therefore, what's going to be happening is that there are many pipes of financial remittances that are going to the communities. And, definitely, people are going to, as we've been advised by His Excellency, to Okulembeka. So you are going to have people that are able to Okulembeka from Emyoga. The same people will be able to Okulembeka to parish development model. And before we realize, we've been actually able to improve livelihoods and social indicators in just a few households. So that's something that would demand attention. Another important thing that we also need to address ourselves, and the executive director of CSBAG did mention that, and the commission has also echoed it, is the 73.5 trillion in debt. I think our debt stress is quite high. There is no way we can romanticize about it. It is good to borrow, but I think we are reaching at a level where our debt stress is getting quite high. And so when one looks at the budget of 40.8 trillion, and first of all, you start by slashing off 8 trillion, which is going in the debt servicing. And, if you are perhaps even including the interest rates, the other day we had a meeting at the annual SCDG Secretariat, and we're just doing some quick arithmetic. From 40 trillion, take away about 17, that would, 17 trillion, that goes into the debt servicing and interest, and that would bring the figure drastically down to about 34 billion. So we're talking of a budget not of 40, because the other is money that we have to pay, and therefore we're talking of a budget of about 34 billion. And then you can then get into the details of this. Now, if we have our debt continuing to rise up, and we're not paying special attention to this, debt by its nature or its default setting is that it handcuffs social policy. Now, we are having the budget as the main aim here is to enhance livelihoods. And the commissioner echoed this multiple times. Enhance livelihoods, improve social indicators. But regrettably, because of the debt burden that we do have, as I said, debt handicaps social policy. And therefore, investment in social infrastructure, investment in social amenities is hampered because of the debt. And then this is something that definitely needs attention to as well. So the money as it appears in the budget, we then have to be able to break it down. As I said, we had 41, we just removed by about 17. And then you're getting down, many of the citizens, the wananchi, are clustered in our district local governments, and we have about 5 trillion that is actually going to the district local government. Well, it's not again time for us to celebrate, because out of that 5 trillion, 70% of it is going into salaries and wages. And so, for those that are good at numbers, if you have only now 30% of the 5 trillion, that is then going down to the district. And that in itself again creates a challenge in terms of money that ends up into the people's pocket. We're celebrating and applauding the parliament development model, because it's one of, once in a lifetime that, you're getting a budget that is focusing and putting attention into lining up the pockets of people. But then the money goes on declining. And even then, part of that, as I said, 70% is going in salaries, and another percentage is going in infrastructure. So again, that becomes something that demands attention. Now, one of the things that we perhaps never speak about quite a lot is that the budget and the finance bill as an annual event, that once it has been passed by Parliament, it is actually a law. And this is a good budget, and we can all celebrate until next week, when all of a sudden the tsunami of supplementary requests assaults the budget. And the failure for the government to remain truly wedded to the budget allocations, the failure of the government to remain truly wedded and to respect rule of law in terms of the Public Finance Act, in itself creates a huge problem in terms of assaulting the budget. Actually, it makes the whole budget process lose meaning, because soon and very soon, and the other day I was saying that I'm not a prophet, but I can almost provide a prophecy here that before 90 days expire, there will be a supplementary request. And that in itself creates a huge, huge problem. And so it's important that as government, we all remain acutely alive to the fact that every time we're making a supplementary request, we are breaking law. We are assaulting the law. And as a law-abiding citizen, and by extension the government as a law-abiding government, it's important that the government does not assault the law, and therefore remains truly wedded to the law. Let me perhaps change gears here and speak about the private sector investment and the need for getting value for money. I think this is something that's definitely very important, and we again applaud government that there is such a substantial amount of resources that are being invested into security, law, and order. Without any doubt, money hates noise, and wherever there is noise, money will run away. Last week, there was, I think, noise at Bunagana because of what is happening with our neighbors. We continue to see an influx of people, and that noise definitely chases away investment. Nobody wants to put money where there is noise. As I say, money hates noise. But as we invest and put a high premium on private sector investment, I think the other thing that we need to be asking ourselves is how we are getting value for money. Just yesterday, I was seeing, I think, a market that had been constructed by government in Ibanda collapsing before it is commissioned. And therefore, that is the point that we definitely need to be able to say, look, as we do these projects, and oftentimes we are commissioning this for the private sector, that we need to be ensuring that there is value for money. And then the other important aspect is to be able, as we do infrastructure development, is to make sure that projects are timely in nature. And the conversation, whenever you're talking about projects timely in nature, never gets completed until you talk about the northern bypass. We already have one northern bypass. And that this is a project which is supposed to be a 5-year project, but I'm not actually very sure it has actually been completed 20 years now, or it's about to be completed. And therefore, it's a project that has gone through multiple budget cycles. And I think, so for this budget to be able to deliver on and use the vehicle private sector investment and be able to, as the driver for changing livelihoods, it's important that 5-year projects are 5-year projects. Just like we have an electoral cycle of 5 years, it would be quite problematic if we didn't have the elections 5 years. So we need to make sure that the projects are equally 5 years, and that is it. As I said, I started by actually saying that, and the commissioner's remarks were, and I said that this is a budget that is read at the triple crisis. The triple crisis of, that I did mention. But also important to highlight that it's a budget read at a crisis when commodity prices are shooting up. And I think it is important that this is something that's addressed, and it can be addressed in multiple ways, but it's important that we definitely apply ourselves. What does government plan to do to be able to ensure that the social indicators of people that are living in the countryside are improved? And this can be improved with making sure that they're able to get the commodities, not at prices that are completely out of their reach. So my last remark here would be on the tax framework. Definitely we want to applaud government for that no new taxes were introduced. But again, the challenge remains that there needs to be improved tax collection. The tax is paid by a few people, and I think it would be very important that the tax base is increased by putting in place better tax collection measures. And only then can we then be able to address ourselves to the third priority of improving quality of life. Yes, money has been prioritized for human capital and productive infrastructure, but up to now, we still have issues with our health. We still have issues with education and roads. It's not unusual to go into the countryside and find children standing under the tree. The Parliamentary Committee on Health has been making rounds in the districts, and what you see on television is that the health care systems themselves are in intensive care unit. And therefore, we definitely would like to see the 7 trillion being applied to ensure that the health care system, the health care infrastructure, the education infrastructure are addressed and given attention. Thank you so much, and for the opportunity to give my intervention on the keynote address.
Thank you, Mr. Moses Isoba, for those sometimes prophetic words. Well done reaction to the Ministry of Finance's comments on today's subject. Just one thing on value of money on the Northern Bypass. Somebody the other day commented that the Northern Bypass was started when he was in P4. Now he has graduated and he's not got a job in 3 years, and the northern bypass is still being worked on. But it's not yet finished because they haven't laid the lines at least. Every day I pass over the northern bypass, I see the lines in the road are not yet done on that side. So they have not yet finished. But thank you very much for those remarks, Mr. Moses Isoba, Executive Director of the Uganda National NGO Forum. But before we go ahead, we'll move along with our program. I'd like to recognize some people who've graced us with their presence. The Honorable Okin PP, I hope I get the pronunciation right, Member of Parliament for Chua West. The Honorable Isaac Katenya, who is from Bulambuli County. We also have a few people from the Ministry of Finance, or from government, the executive, because you know we are all the government, so we have to make that distinction. These are from the executive. Muhumuza Ivan from the Ministry of Local Government. Ms. Farida Bahemuka, Ministry of Finance. Also from the Ministry of Finance, Wech Helen, Jenny, and Samson Soate, Clive Aineviona, Ali Tagawe, Sophia Agaba. We also have Ms. Rosemary Chomjuni from the Equal Opportunities Commission, and Ms. Rachel Nambiro from the National Planning Authority. Thank you, people, for being with us this morning in this program. We have just heard from the Executive Director again, Moses Isoba of the NGO Forum, reacting to the speech of the Minister of Finance that was read for him by Commissioner from the Ministry, Hannington Ashaba. So moving along, moving on to the next part of our program, which is the discussion part. We have a panel. Yes, we have a panel of people to discuss the budget, give us their perspective on the subject after we've heard from, of course, the CSBAG Executive Director, the Ministry of Finance, and now the NGO Forum. So we'd ask them to come up front, to the front of the room, and take up the positions. The panelists we have, Miss Agnes Chirabo, Executive Director of Food Rights Alliance. Please take your place at the top. We have Agnes Kisembo from the Intergovernmental Coordination for Gender Budgeting, the UN from UN Women Uganda. We also have Mr. Joseph Mukasa, who is a Senior Research Fellow at ACODE. We also have Miss Javira Busulwa from the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. We also, we might not have, okay. Then we also have just hold on a bit. That's what happens when you see one of your panelists walking out of the room. But sorry for that. We have the Assistant Commissioner, Budget Policy and Evaluation from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Ali Tagole, who is also expected up at the thing. We also have Mr. Emmanuel Kasheja, Acting Program Manager, Gender and Economic Justice at Forward. And I think we filled our spaces up here. Mr. Ali from the Ministry of Finance, you can also take your place at the top of the... So we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to ask a few questions to the panelists. But I want to plead, beg the panelists to keep it short, tight, and sweet, because we have a question and answer session. We want to have participation from the members of the public. I'm sure after hearing all this, a lot of English, they have very serious questions to ask that to address their own issues. But while we wait, give us a few minutes as we wait for the panel to be concluded. I wanted to point out that I've been a business journalist for a long time. It's probably evident from my hair. And one of the most horrific things I saw, which doesn't happen now, but some of you might be shocked to learn, is one day in the 80s, I was sitting in a car parked on Kampala Road opposite, I don't know how to describe this now, opposite Shell. I think it's called Shell City Square or something, somewhere down there. And I was looking up Bombo Road. And believe it or not, we were probably the only car parked there. A few cars, you could see all the way, I think almost, no, okay, not really, but almost to Wandegea, because there were no cars and, people were, few also on the road. And I'll forget seeing this cow coming down the road, coming down on Kampala Bombo Road, coming towards us. And before I'd even recovered from the shock of that, because where I came from, you don't have cows walking in the capital city. Before I recovered from the shock of that, the cow stopped to drink water out of a pothole. So, people, steady progress has been made, just in case you didn't realize. But let's get quickly into this business, the business of today. This discussion, I want to start very quickly with the Minister of Finance. I want to play the devil's advocate. I want to play the devil's advocate on the budget that was presented a few weeks ago and that has been discussed today. This business of the parish development model. In another life, I advise people on personal finance. And I tell them there are only two ways of consuming, of eating, of spending money. You're either consuming or you're investing. And the balance of how you spend your money will determine whether you will be rich or poor in the future. So whereas parish development model suggests we are going to give money to the people, but we know they are just going to consume it, you might actually be doing more harm than good with this parish development model. Maybe you can react to that before I ask another question.
Thank you, moderator, and our dear participants for being part of this gathering. Once again, my name is Tagore Ali, Stand Commissioner, Budget Policy and Evaluation. Yes, what you have brought up is more or less a fear as far as implementation of the parish development model is concerned, and that was envisaged at the design. Unlike other funds, the PDM will not go to the individual directly. The implementation guideline requires that every parish forms a circle. That circle should be member-owned, member-controlled. 2, government will deliver that money or will release that money to the parish circle at no interest rate. However, when the members borrow that money, for purposes of sustainability and growth of the circle, they have to bring it back so that it goes to other beneficiaries. So what are the measures to ensure that that money is not eaten? Number 1, all the beneficiaries must demonstrate that they have an enterprise in which they have experience to manage. And where that does not exist, there is a full period gain, which is supposed to provide them with whatever enables them to move forward. That period of agro-industrialization it provides the inputs, it provides extension services where need be, it provides all the relevant information as far as certified suppliers of inputs are concerned, so that that farmer is able to survive the first birth of the enterprise. So ideally, the emphasis will be on ensuring that nobody goes to borrow without an enterprise, because what we want is to extend money into the pockets of the people, but not freebies, no. It must be picked for a purpose, and you must demonstrate that that purpose is able to keep that money moving within your enterprise until you take it back for other people to benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. There's been a lot of criticism. People say that this is just going to be like any other fund that has happened. Hopefully, this one is better designed. We have learned from our problems in the past. But let me move along to the Executive Director of the Food Rights Alliance, Ms. Agnes Chirabo. Does the budget, as we've heard, adequately address the challenges currently being faced by farmers along the agriculture value chain? And how do you see this, if at all?
Thank you so much, and good morning once again. It's quite very, very much interesting listening to the different voices and submissions about the parish development model. But that is not my question. My question is about addressing the challenges that the smallholder farmers are facing. To many of us, the word smallholder farmers is not new. Smallholder farmers comprise more than 70% of the entire agricultural sector and produce more than 80% of the food that we eat in this country. Forget about the wheat and the Ukraine and so on and so forth. 80% of the food that we eat is being produced by those people. And unfortunately, these are the same people, moderator, that comprise the 39% that is supposed to benefit from the parish development model. What is also very interesting about this category of people, that they are very good asset to the peace and security of this country because they feed themselves more often. They may not be feeding themselves adequately, but at least there is a tuber. That's why the president refers to them as chidachonka. And because poverty bites hard, they sell most of what they have produced to be able to access the bar of soap that is at that price that you know. These are the people that we are talking about. And nobody wants to talk about them, because I remember my friend, senior PST, even said he doesn't believe we shall ever develop through this sector. Now, what do we need from these people, and what do they expect from this budget? All what is being talked about is the 100 million that is going per parish. And you have heard the modalities that keep changing based on whoever is talking about how this money is going to be accessed. Believe me or not, these people are not going to be accessing that money, given the parameters. You've heard the commissioner here say. What do they need? These people need access to that agricultural extension. Commissioner, it is a must. It is not where need be. It is a must. And unfortunately, we do not have the adequate numbers of extension workers to meet to these people. Secondly, we are so saturated as a country. Every day the priority enterprise list keeps growing. And all of these enterprise lists, these enterprises require specialized extension. And as we speak, I think it is only coffee in this country that is having specialized extension. I'm not very sure, even at my level now, this financial year, we had trapped these smallholder farmers, moderator, in accessing inputs from Operation Wealth Creation. Nobody is talking about it anymore. So it is not talking about it. It is about how are we going to manage that, because our input distribution system is collapsed. You cannot be sure. We have evidently seen even government programs giving out substandard inputs. So where are they going to get these inputs? The market systems. I think what would have been desired by these smallholder farmers in this financial year, to be told that as a country, given our examples and challenges and experiences, we have decided as a country that for the next 5 years, we are going to focus on this particular enterprise. And we organize all our efforts, the extension, the 100 million, everything that we have discussed in this room. Then we are going to consolidate ourselves. But this one is not happening. So everybody is free. You've had the commissioner, so long as you have an enterprise, the enterprise, and the enterprise. So we are making them more circulated, and yet they have capacity, which is financial, technical, technological, but also the self-worthiness of them as part of this entire economy, as part of this entire grid that we are working to live a life with dignity. So that's what they want. They want to see the market. They want to know where the market is going to be and what is required in that market. And I'm telling you, even when they are seemingly poor, they will devise means. There is that natural instinct to benefit from that opportunity. And I'm happy that we are reducing the dependence, but we shouldn't reduce the dependence when we have not opened the opportunities the other side, especially in as far as making the markets function and people knowing how the markets are going to play out. And we know what the smallholder farmers, the kind of market they need, such that they see their little produce going in. Today it is 5 cents, tomorrow it is 1 bag, and the next season it will be 10 bags, if really the market brings the returns back to them. Otherwise, if the 39% of the population are still hungry, and there are 25% of them, their children are malnourished, 6 of the 11 districts that make up Karamoja are in a food crisis. I don't know whether the 100 million is going there as well. They're in a food crisis. All of the 11 have a consumption gap. This is according to the recently released IPC report. The money commissioner will be eaten. I submit.
Thank you. Thank you, Agnes, for that. We've had heated discussions on this issue of focusing resources. Me and Julius, we say, put it all in one place, we finish this one, then we move to the next one. But we came to the conclusion that there's something called politics. So, but anyway, that's probably a discussion for another day. But let me move along. We shall come back to you, Agnes, and also Ali. I just wanted to spread out the love earlier on. Let me come to you, Ms. Javira, from the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. You've listened to the budget. You probably have been in several dialogues like this already. How responsive do you think this budget is in addressing the challenges facing SMEs in this country, the ones that you represent?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I know you were looking the other end, but I'm also this side.
Sorry, my mistake.
My name is David Surajavila, and I work as Finance and Administration Manager at Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. For today, I'm also called Veronica Namwanje, who's the Executive Director, who is circumstantially absent, but technically present. So when you hear my voice changing, just know it is Veronica Namwanje present. just for the question, of course, when you consider this budget, it is, we could call it as, we are somewhere in the crisis management, where we are struggling to come to terms with the COVID-19 issues, and then at the same time, we are also fighting with the hyperinflation, which is cropping up. So much has been done, at least there is some will that the budget is trying to address to revive the economy. When we talk about things like small business recovery funds, things like the parish development model, things like restructuring of loans for the SMEs, all these, including mid-access to NSS funds, all these are trying to recoup money into the saturation so that we increase the aggregate demand of in the economy. And you know, as SMEs, we may not have the requisite we don't have the requisite to have so much resources so that we can absorb the shock. And besides, we don't even have where to present our supplementary budgets. But all that, once we can, of course, appreciate that effort. But the issue arising out of that is that all these efforts can be done, but is the ground fertile to receive these kind of incentives? Because, as you know, most SMEs begin informally, which wouldn't be a problem because in most cases, all of us, that is how we came to the world. We began informally without our